Um. Dun, dun,
There we
dun,
go.
dun.
I see
Are we
excellent.
live?
Yeah, I see excellent connection.
Okay.
And maybe we can't go live until the top of the hour.
It is the top of the hour.
Oh, there we go. Go live. Here we go.
I don't know. We'll get this sorted out.
I think we're live. Let's test this. Let's
Right,
test.
let me go to okay. That's a minute 16, 44, 43. Still says upcoming.
All right, James. Can you see us? Let us know if you can see us.
We're live. I can see us on screen.
Yay! And we're on the right one.
Yeah. I hate the delay though. It's crazy. Kills
Yeah.
me.
So Lee and James, can you? Okay. Well, I can see and hear you.
Yeah.
Did that go through?
Oh, we're so unprofessional.
All right. Let's see.
Oh
I'm
my
going to
God.
say hi, Lee, and hi, James. Okay.
Oh my God. Here we
Well,
go.
we'll fiddle fart around with this for a little bit. The chat in the stream thing isn't working. So
Hey, our friend Scott's here too.
yes. Okay.
All right.
Well, do the fucking intro, man.
Oh, it's me. Oh, that's my job.
You're the usual one who does it.
Oh, hi. Welcome to another episode of Titterpigs. No, hey, welcome back. It's another episode of Titterpigs. Episode number, I don't care today. We're doing a live stream, everybody.
41, technically speaking, because this will be the audio for this will be uploaded as episode 41.
Oh, that's right. We're gonna do that.
Yeah, exactly. So this will be a separate thing. So even though this is a video, we should try to minimize our our audio aspects if we're showing shit off. So if we do, make sure we give a good description of what we're showing off if we show anything. So
and a word from our sponsor. No, not really.
Whoa.
I need to put tape over it.
Here's a word from our sponsor. This live stream is brought to you by Uncle Joe's Mint Balls. Now here's a question. This is showing reverse on my screen. Is this showing reverse on the live stream? Let me know and I will fix my mirroring on my video. But if not, we will carry on. But yes, Uncle Joe's Mint Balls. You know, when you desperately need your balls to be minty, put the balls in your mouth and they will be just as flavorful as the balls that you're chewing on. Oh yes, Chris is here, the Grognard Files, and yes,
Yay!
Chris, thank you. And this was probably this is the gift that keeps on giving, because once all the balls are in my mouth, this now becomes a wonderful dice roller, dice case, and it's the gift that keeps on giving.
They keep you all aglow.
All aglow. So we are here to just have for shits and giggles. We decided to do a live stream and have a little chat about Gen Con, and do maybe a little Q&A for those who have any questions. And more importantly, we're going to have a bit of a discussion on the WOTC press event that we went to. And kind of, we're not here to defend the presentation that WOTC gave, but probably shed a little light on some of the hearsay and rumors that are still going about, and just give you a bit of perspective from where it's coming from them. Now, mind you, the people who gave the presentation were a variety of creators and people who worked directly for WOTC. There was no representation from Hasbro there. There was also a representation of the two gents from the company who are doing the virtual tabletop. And it's just one of the things that I wanted to point out was, if it's all a bunch of BS, the 3.5-hour presentation that they gave seemed like a giant colossal waste of effort. If all
it was pasted on thick.
Right. And if all it was just to waylay the inevitable, It seemed like way too much effort just to do that.
Right.
So, but with that, we're not saying that everything they said and presented was, things that we agree with, but it still needs to, it still needs to have a bit of perspective provided, and hopefully we can give that to a certain degree. But if not, take it for what it's worth. It could just be a bit of smoke and mirrors. Who knows?
It could be.
It's WOTC. So why don't we start off with
Yes.
with the one thing we didn't touch on was our last day of Gen Con, because we didn't do a stream regarding that. So
Hold on.
Yeah.
Your last day of Gen Con. Mine was spent driving 12 and a half hours back to Charleston.
Oh, that's
trying to avoid Tropical Storm Debbie, which we're still dealing with because roads are flooded, rivers are flooding. Yeah.
Right.
So,
what do you mean
how was your last day of Gen Con? Because mine was spent in a car.
It was fine. What do you mean this is going downhill fast, James?
You were talking about mint balls in your mouth.
That's what okay. Yeah. I mean, so, if you want that Cthulhu by Gaslight book sent to you soon, you better be nice. So our last day of Gen Con, right? Keith had to leave early, so we had a few things scheduled for that day. The first and foremost was I played in a game of Rapscallion. Rapscallion is a game that just completed their Kickstarter a while ago. It is a powered by the apocalypse game. It is kind of a mixture of, you play a bunch of rogues and pirates. The essential game took place with all of us on a pirate ship, and we had to go find buried treasure. It was myself, it was Debbie, and my son who joined in the game. And I don't know. One of the things that I walked away with playing this is I still feel that I don't really have quite a hard grasp on. I think appeal is the wrong word when it comes to Powered by the Apocalypse games, but I feel like, at least my takeaway with everyone that I played in, except for the one that Sue Savage ran. When Sue ran, her games utilizing Cult, which is a version of Powered by the Apocalypse 2. All the other PBTA games that I played in just felt a bit ramshackle. Just kind of like the person running it was just, hey, we're just here to have fun and let's just make up shit as we go along. The utilization of the rules didn't really seem to be first and foremost in running it. It was more like, whoever thinks of something cool, that's what happens. And it felt like the gaming aspect seems to be missing from it. And again, maybe I'm just playing with the wrong people. And I reached out to Blake and a couple other people that I may be having a chat with, and may have them run a game for me to see if I can better grasp it. But it was okay. But I don't know. I'm still trying to see what Powered by the Apocalypse is huge.
Oh, absolutely. But it's a different type of game. It is not your traditional or trad game where you have mechanics, but you're not throwing dice all the time to do everything you want to do and having dice adjudicate everything.
Right. But I think one of the things that we kind of ran into, and also with the Avatar game that we played, is knowing the base mechanics of how PBTA works. There's a couple situations where it felt like I had to say, hey, does this activate a move? I felt like it activated a move for me. Should we be rolling something? And the general, feedback that I got from the GMs running these games is, well, if you want. There really wasn't this sense of control and organization with it. I think that's the proper term. It just seems a bit unorganized in the games that I played in. And
not to cut you off, but having played a number of PBTA games and having run just a handful, 3-4 times,
right?
I can tell you that there are some of the games have very standard playbooks. Some have very additional specialized playbooks for the different, or moves, I should say. They have very standardized moves and then specialized move for each playbook. So there becomes this widening field, in each game has a very different field of moves.
Right.
If you're not, as as a game master, if you're not super committed to that game and know all the moves and what's triggering the move, it from a game master perspective, it's a challenge to go, okay, hey, so that is the investigate move. Why don't you go ahead and make your die roll, and we're going to see what the result is. Go ahead and do it.
Right.
It's tough because it's not your traditional thing.
But I guess what I'm saying is there is the groundwork of rules within each game. And it just kind of seems like, regardless of how it is, and people put in a lot of work in this, because not every PBTA game is copy and paste, but it seems mostly in the games that I played in, those are just kind of ignored. It seems to be more, and I'm not a big fan of this term, but it's the rule of cool thing. Like if it's a good idea and it sounds awesome and it makes everyone clap and shout and go hooray, forget the rules. Let's just roll with this suggestion that you have, and it can make the game feel a bit disjointed, and kind of also take you out of whatever the immersive aspect they're trying to gain. It being a pirate game, it being a fantasy game, it being whatever it is. It can kind of take you out of that situation. So,
no, absolutely. I'm kind of bummed that I had to leave on Sunday and drive the 12 and a half hours home because I wanted to play Cartel. Pookie and I had a scheduled game to play together in Cartel, and I know he got to play and I didn't, and I'm kind of bummed that I didn't get to play.
Well, did you hear that you didn't miss, though? Did he tell you what happened?
In Cartel?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I don't know anything about the Cartel game. Pookie and I have not had a conversation about Cartel. I imagine we will later after we get done streaming.
There's no conversation. No one showed up.
What?
He was if I'm not mistaken, I think Pookie's in the chat, or he was.
Yeah, he is. I see him.
But he was the only one that, generally speaking, showed up. Nobody else showed up for the game.
Oh God.
You guys would have been SOL. It was canceled. Okay, he says it was canceled. So
okay, so they canceled. So Pookie, I know you're listening. Did they refund your money, our money, because that they canceled the game?
Yeah.
That's just a gee whiz question.
Right. But no, that's right. He showed up, and no one was there. I think that's what he said. This was the end of the day. When we kind of regrouped and spoke about things. So obviously I was half listening.
That's a bummer.
So after the game ended, we kind of went our separate ways because we were going to meet up with Doc and Scott Woodard for a bite to eat at the Weber Steakhouse. I took my son over to the vendor hall where he picked up a few things for his friends and also picked up something for himself. And he purchased one of those giant foam kind of cosplay.
You get one of those big swords?
He already has a big sword. He already has a big sword that we got for Christmas, but he got a pole arm, which essentially stretch. You were in the car. It stretched from the back of the car almost up to the front seat.
Holy shit!
Yeah. So that was his major purchase. And then what was fantastic was that on a whim, right there in the far corner, there's what's called Artists and Authors Alley, where authors are hawking their books, artists are there selling prints, and everyone's signing stuff. And in the far corner, that was where Rose Estes was supposed to be signing stuff, but I thought that she had gone home. This was like the last moment to do anything.
Yeah.
And just walked over the corner, and lo and behold, there she was with her son. And it was like, it felt like I was 5 meeting Santa Claus for the first time.
Nice.
I kind of sheepishly walked up. Excuse me, are you Rose Estes? She's like, well, yes, dear, I am. And I'm like, would you please sign my books? And she's like, well, of course. I'm like, I've got 4. You only have to sign 1 if you don't want to. She's like, no, I'll sign them all.
That's brilliant, man. That's brilliant.
And so while she was signing the books, her son is there. She's 84, I think, and she was in a wheelchair. So her son was there and had a wonderful chat with him while she was signing it. and a couple other people came by, and said, are you Rosestes? Thank you for writing these books. And so it was, and she wrote a personal message regarding each book. I had the original 4: the Return to Brookmere, the Dungeon of Dread, the blue one and the brown one. I'm forgetting the names, but they were all.
I got you.
They were all the first edition. So she wrote a little personal message regarding a little info about that. But because she was doing all 4, it took about 40 minutes for her to get through each one. So he told me that she had a wonderful time. She was involved in a couple seminars where there was her and like Ed Greenwood and Jeff Grubb who were there, and they were talking about the history of D&D and the books and everything. So, and so that was nice to hear. But it was a bit interesting that this was her second Gen Con. The last Gen Con that she went to was Gen Con number 2.
Holy crap!
Right. She lives in a remote area up in Oregon, and really hasn't been too involved after she completed the Endless Quest books with the gaming. I know she did a couple fantasy novels on her own, but after that was pretty much it. She never really did much as far as in the gaming world after that fact. So it was interesting to hear. And then all said and done, after we got a picture with her and my son, who was waiting there patiently.
Good on him.
While I'm there going, this is so cool. Do you know who this is?
Santa, I want to sit on your lap, sign my books.
Exactly. So,
dude, that's awesome. I'm glad you were able to get that, because I know you were chomping at the bit all week. We were there waiting to do that.
Yes. So that was a big highlight. And then we kind of just chilled for a bit, and then we went to go have dinner at the Weber Grill. Scott Woodard showed up, had a wonderful chat with him, just breaking down Gen Con and just talking bits and bobs about several things. Doc was there with his he only had one Sherpa this time. His younger son was there with his girlfriend.
Yep.
And so it sounds like they had a wonderful time. I think this was her first Gen Con.
I believe so. His 700th, her first.
Right. Yeah. But it was brief, because I think one of the things that felt a little off was the one that we went to 2 years ago. We didn't have, even though we had social time with everyone, it felt like we had more social time last time, and this time was anyone who was outside of our group stayed at the house. We just really didn't get to spend enough time. Doc was literally just a brief conversation around dinner, and then hugs, and we were on our way. Lloyd showed up briefly, but he didn't stay for dinner, and he had to take off because he was heading off to Chicago to continue his holiday with his friends.
Yeah, I recall that. I was in the message group for that still.
And so it's and then it was essentially back home, and and just start packing and getting ready to head out the next day. So the last day was a bit low key, but
that's the way it should be, pretty low key.
So and then began the long ride home.
Yeah. So, I know. I thought my ride was long at 12 and a half hours. I mean, I got to see my son on the way up, and on the way back, I stopped by his apartment, dropped off the 2 art prints I bought for him. And he's like, "You want to sit and chill and hang out for a bit?" I'm like, "Nope. I want to get my ass home before the storms come."
Right. Right.
And I hit about 30 minutes of rain intermittent once I hit South Carolina. And none of it was really bad. I mean, I could see it kind of off the coast as I was getting closer.
Right.
And then when I got off the highway where I live, there was this I sent you guys the picture, this gorgeous rainbow, when I got off the highway, and I was like, that's either very fortuitous or very ominous. It was a little bit of column A, a little from column B.
Yeah.
Because the next day, the wife decided the weather was starting to get bad. She's like, I think I'm going to leave a day early and go to my retreat up in DC. And she left just on Tuesday a day early, just before the rains were getting bad, the roads were starting to flood and close, and she got out just in time. Yesterday they closed our major highway for about 6 hours from flooding. It was flooded all the way across the eastbound lanes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been bad here. So,
well, at least you didn't drive, several 9 to 12 hour day drives.
No,
days home.
just one 12 and a half hour day. That was enough.
Lucky you. So I think overall, I mean, we touched on a lot of things on our, little recap we did there, but I think one of the revelations we had, bye, Pat. We'll see you tomorrow.
Cheers, Pat.
One of the major revelations that we had as far as going there representing a podcast or part of the press was we tried this the first time, we tried it again the second time, but I honestly think is when you go to Gen Con, and if you're trying to go there to either make connections, talk with people, get interviews, we felt that regardless of the convention, you kind of have two paths you need to take and you can't mix it, right?
Correct.
It was either you're going there to play games and have fun and maybe hang out with friends, but if you're going there to do interviews, make connections, talk with people, speak with publishers, even if it's going to the Ennies and touch upon that, you kind of have to do the more professional business approach.
Yeah, because you can't mix the two. Like I would have loved to have, instead of trying to game during the day on Friday, which we ended up bailing on a game so we could do some of the professional stuff,
right?
And those types of things. I would have loved to have purposely set up our equipment and sat like outside in the lobby area where we could still hear what was going on in the Ennies, even though that shit sounded like a fucking potato from the back of the room, from the Union Station. They got to fix that shit. And actually done some like live stream commentary from there. That's the kind of thing that I know you and I discuss. Like if next time we go, hold on, I gotta extract the cat. She knows we're streaming and recording. She likes to type on the keyboard. Next time we go to a convention, whether it's Gen Con or Origins or Kubla Con or Cornhole Con or one of these bigger cons, whatever the hell it is, Corn on the Cob, what is it?
No, Cornhole Con.
Cornhole, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, we're Toss Salad Con. Well,
my point is, let's move on. We digress. My point is, we can't mix work and pleasure. If we're going there with press credentials and to cover press stuff, right?
Right.
We need to do that stuff. And like during the day, and if we're going to get a game, we can get a game at night.
Right.
Or if we're talking to a board game publisher, you want to give us a 20-minute demo or a 15-minute demo of your game? Give us a demo. We're right here. Let's talk.
Right.
Right.
Bud did it kind of like the right way. He kind of took some time away and he did an interview back at the house with
Caleb Stokes.
Caleb Stokes, yes. Yeah. Had a nice 2-hour conversation that hopefully will be going up on his podcast soon.
Yep.
And but it's just when you schedule the games and everything, you're too tired at the end of the day to want to do any of that.
Hold on, I need the grandstand. The rest of this live stream is brought to you by Lo-Fi from I don't know who. Oh, it's from Lo-Fi Brewing. It's Glitter Pony. Triple Belgian. Now carry on.
Oh, but anyways,
getting into the X-Crawl Classics. Fuck off.
So that was a bit of a revelation. So so whatever one we go to next, it's going to be and not saying that work is not fun. It's great talking with these other people, getting to do interviews, get some insights into the games and whatnot, and then maybe just have the evenings be social situations, either to have drinks, dinner, play games and whatnot. So
because last time we went, we had like on the Saturday we had like the what was it, like the mafia dinner, right? It was like this really obscure backroom dinner with like a whole bunch of people. No, it's not brought to us by Tunnix Tea Cakes. No.
But that wasn't on our schedule. That was kind of
It
like
was not. But it could something like that could have been
right.
had we been staying focused on doing that kind of stuff
Right.
versus, well, shit, I want to get a game in on Friday afternoon, and I want, I purposely built my schedule to make sure that I had less games this time than I did the last time, but even still, this time it was too much.
Right. So, well, speaking of their doing press, there, the big thing that we got invited to that we actually did.
Let's talk about the big elephant in the room.
To earn the press pass, was we attended the WOTC press only, invite only reveal and chat about the coming new edition of Dungeons and Dragons, which we attended with us, Bud, and unfortunately, Pookie came along, but he didn't get his invite. That's a different story. But we'll just talk about what happened inside.
But hold on. Let's preface all of this by saying we estimate that there was maybe 600-ish, 5 to 800 press passes given out this year.
Right.
Because there was tons of them in the box. Okay.
Right. Exactly.
And there was only
60
60 to 70 of us in this event.
Yes, there wasn't a lot.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah. Now, to kind of set the scene, it was held in this ballroom that was on top of this this is historic kind of hotel or music hall.
No, it was
venue. I forget what it's called. It's like the Indianapolis Grand Rooftop Ballroom or something like that.
Right. It had like a ballroom floor. It had a stage for like a band or plays. I mean, it was a gorgeous location.
Right. A bar in the back. It reminded me of some place, like a really nice place that you would go to see a small concert or something.
Yeah.
Or other musical type performance. So it wasn't huge. And so, when you took the elevator up, it opened into the bar kind of lounge area. We were greeted by, I don't even know her name, but we were greeted by one of the representatives. And
yeah, they were from the PR company.
Right. And so the bar was serving 3 mixed drinks but they ended up being mocktails. Ugh. And they weren't serving any alcohol. It was they
were from Punch-ins and Flagons.
Right. It just didn't have any alcohol. And the one I had essentially tasted like a spruced up whiskey sour, in my opinion. So it was all right. So there was a bit of lounging around while they were getting outside on the main floor. Surrounding the perimeter was maybe 8 or 9 different tables from third-party companies that were either promoting 5th edition items or up and coming knickknacks and bric-a-brac.
There was WizKids. So there was WOTC Hasbro stuff. There was 2 tables for that. There was WizKids for their pre-painted miniatures line. Their blind booster boxes.
Right.
There was the company who does this book set, 10 Speed Press.
Yeah.
They were there representing their books. And who else was there?
AAW there, or whatever they're called. Who's the one that does the Drow book and the ones that they were giving away free stuff to the press?
Well, the company Critical Hit Press Critical Hit Publishing was there. That they do Humblewood. They were there. Yeah. You're thinking AAW. They weren't there. Okay. They do the Drow book.
So, and then they had a variety of little food stations where they had little sandwiches, finger foods, and whatnot.
It was fully catered. Yeah, heavy hors d'oeuvres, fully catered.
Right. And so people started to file in. We were actually pretty early. We were one of the first ones there. And then as people started to file in, you would see somewhat familiar faces from the, how should you put it, the YouTube glitterati who does primarily D&D stuff.
You would know better than I do. I don't watch that crap.
Right. And then a lot of actual play people, there was a couple faces there that I kind of recognized. They weren't associated directly with Critical Role, but they may have done a stream or two with them. But
now Bud recognized somebody
okay.
From a woman who does the voice from a video game that's not related to D&D.
Yeah. So
she was there.
So there was a mixture. Yeah. So there was a mix of people that you kind of knew that they probably they weren't like from the press, but they probably have got a direct invite, like an influencer type invite.
Yeah.
And not just randomly, hey, you have a press pass. Would you like to come check this out and talk about it? So people started to file in, and then eventually, we took our seats, and on the tables was a variety of swag examples, a D&D mug and a pair of sunglasses, and which Keith is grabbing right now. There you
Ta-da! Go. For those that can't see, I am wearing the swaggy glasses.
Yeah, it looks like a pair of Walmart sunglasses with a D&D.
They're really
logo.
cheap. They are really thin. They're really cheap. Like, if I open them, like, they have no give to them. Like, I'm afraid I'm going to break these damn things. I'm going to put them down now.
They wouldn't fit on this head, that's for sure. So
no, they won't.
So, a bit of time went by, and then eventually we were told to take our seats. And
hold on. Before we took our seats, though.
Oh, yeah, we were given T-shirts.
So we got T-shirts. So
in the beginning,
those that can see,
yeah.
And these are World Tour shirts, or Realm Tour.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're actually nice shirts. And Scott, correct me on this. As far as I know, these are exclusive to this event.
Someone did chime in and say during one of the YouTube posts I did, or not YouTube posts, social media posts, said, "Where did you get that shirt? Because it looked like only WOTC staff was wearing it." So yeah, it's somewhat of an exclusive shirt. So
yeah,
so we're sitting down, and so already it meets what we thought it was. We originally thought it was just going to be a general come, take a walk through. The books will be out on the table, maybe some presentation of some other things, and we would be in and out in an hour. But it wasn't the case. So
nope.
we sat down for the presentation, and it began. And again, I don't know her name, but who is the lead design rep for WOTC came out.
She's like she kind of presented herself as the mother of dragons or something, right? So she's like the program project manager.
Exactly.
Project manager for all of the entire
D&D stuff.
Well, for this specific project,
right,
within WOTC.
She moved from Magic the Gathering to this, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yeah. That was what I understood.
So it began with her just, your typical boilerplate speech. Welcome everybody to the event. Thank you for coming. And it did she immediately lead into a lot of after she gave the good feel speech,
No, she led into, so she briefed like a history of D&D.
Oh, okay.
She gave the long history of D&D.
Right. Okay. One thing I'll touch upon, right, is, mind you, the crowd we're with, both, I don't know, I'm not going to speak for Bud, but both Keith and I, are kind of looking around, and we're like, what the fuck are we doing here? How did we get into this? This is not really our thing, but we're stuck here. Let's roll with it. So yeah, so there was kind of like a minor presentation. There were two screens up to our left and right above the stage, and they kind of gave a slideshow presentation on the history of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And then, there's a slide came up showing Dave Arneson and Gary Gygax. And there was an acknowledgement to them as the creators, and mind you, if anyone's going to go, well, yeah, but there's the other stuff they touched upon. They didn't touch upon any of that. There was no, warning that, hey, these are old guys who came from a different time, and the content they may have done may have not be jiving with how we are today. There was none of that, but for me, when the image came up on the screen of them, I started giving a clap, and I kind of looked around, and you could almost hear a pin drop.
Yep.
Like as soon as those images came on the screen, you can just feel, the energy levels drop. Like, almost like, ew, why are you showing pictures of them? I could be wrong. I could be misreading the crowd, but it definitely felt that way. And then when they moved on to the other slides and whatnot, it kind of picked back up again.
Now,
yeah.
Maybe you picked up on you're kind of picking up on the vibe that I picked up on. I think yourself, myself, and Bud were probably the three oldest people in the room.
Possibly.
Or at least three of the oldest people in the room.
It felt that way.
It did. I mean, at least we have the most white hair. Because most of the people in the room were quite young. In the 20s,
30s-ish.
Maybe mid-30s tops. Now, there were a couple of reporters in there that were probably in and around our age, maybe in their 40s, early 50s tops, depending on which news outlet they might have been with. But we were there was just a very small handful of us that were like in our age category in their late 40s or early 50s.
Right.
So us doing this when Guy Gax and Arneson were on the screen, we're like,
yeah. Oh, who let them in? But again, correct me if I'm wrong, but then it went on. Primarily after that, it was just essentially the history and the legacy of 5th edition, right? From that point on, so to speak.
Yeah. We kind of got an hour-long briefing or presentation on the history, like the past, the present, and then the future of D&D.
Right.
Kind of in a nutshell, the past, a nutshell of the present, which would be like we kind of got a run through of like how we got from like old school D&D through 3.5, third edition, fourth edition was kind of touched on a little
bit, yeah.
Fifth edition, obviously, and then what the future looked like and that's what led into this version of Dungeons and Dragons, which is still 5th edition.
Right. And also I might add, also touching on her history.
Yes.
As a gamer, which I'll be honest was interesting.
I was more interested in her history than I was in the rest of her presentation.
According to her presentation, she's definitely is an old school gamer. She's probably close to our age.
She's got to be our age, yeah.
She was a programmer for MUDs and early online
Muds and Mushes, yeah. And, she ran a BBS out of her parents' living room. I did that out of my bedroom as a teenager.
Right. So she definitely has some gaming credentials, some tech credentials, just not your average, executive who is just there to, sell the brand. Right. Yeah. So there's a bit of vetted interest that coming from her. It seemed like she legitimately is excited, not just about, D&D, the new edition, 5th edition, even though that's her job, but an interest in gaming all around in general. So that was a bit nice and reassuring to see. So when that was done, what came next?
They brought up another presenter. I'm looking through all the press stuff for it right now.
Right.
I was hoping for like an abbreviated slide deck that we could stream, but no, it's not there. So then they basically brought up the two, like the grouping of people, Chris Perkins and the folks intimately involved in this version of Dungeons and Dragons. So,
right.
And then we kind of got the spiel of, okay, so what's in this new player's handbook? What's going to be in the new Dungeon Master's Guide, the new Monster Manual?
Right.
What's different about this version? And what we learned in a nutshell is all 3 core books are going to be 384 pages each, which is considerably larger than the 2014 versions. But with that, we also learned that you can take your 2014 versions, throw them in the bin, insert these 3 new versions that are coming out. The current version of the player's handbook will be available in September, so next month. The
Right.
DMG will be available in November, and the Monsters Manual will be available in February, according to their timeline.
Right.
And you can insert those in place of the 2014 versions and run all of the existing official product that WOTC has published, the other supplements, the other adventures and adventure books, campaigns that they've officially published with no converting.
Right. And if
They're
you're
fully compatible.
if you're a 5th edition fan, then this would be good news for you.
Because they're not. It's not a new edition. Now there are changes to the some of the core mechanic elements,
Right.
but it is not a new edition. They're not calling it 6th edition. They're not calling it 1D&D anymore. They're just calling it Dungeons and Dragons 2024.
Right. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the vibe I got. Kind of like what they do with Magic, right? So they call it like 2023 core, 2024 core. It'll be 2025 core, right?
That's the reference they're going to be using. The books are just going to say Dungeons and Dragons, but
Yeah,
I think
they don't refer. I mean, I'm looking at the book. I've got it right here. So for those that are watching the stream, that's the cover of the new Player's Handbook, right? There's the back cover with the embossed 50th logo on the back. And it just says the world's greatest role-playing game, Dungeons and Dragons Player's Handbook. There's no reference to 5th edition. There's no reference to anything. The only thing it says on the back is a companion to... Now, what it does say on the back, it says a companion to the 5th edition Dungeon Master's Guide 2024 and Monster Manual 2025. So they're still considering this 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
So it's not a new edition. It's just a revision of the existing edition.
Right. So this one was the sales pitch. This one was the breakdown.
Yep.
This one was the one where they this was the promotion part of it.
Yeah.
And do you want me to just read off the slides that they had regarding the 3 books real quick? Just
go ahead, because it's just the highlights of what's different.
So up on the screen there was 3 slides. So things to look forward to. If you're looking forward to this, 5th edition's your jam, you're like, woo, new D&D, this is kind of what you have to look forward to. So you've got 48 subclasses coming in the Player's Handbook with 18 new backgrounds, so to speak. You've got 75 feats, 375 spells, with several hundred of those being either new or redone, a weapon mastery rules, a rules glossary, and then apparently there's going to be new crafting rules, things that to make those aspects more interesting. Now, again, if this is your jam, fantastic. Some of these things, even if 5e was something that I, was my major focus, some of these things I would look at and go, eh? Crafting rules was, okay, that's fine. So the more interesting part is when they were touching on the Dungeon Master's Guide. The Dungeon Master's Guide is the big thing with this, and this is probably already out there, is the Bastion rules, which many may recognize as something that might be associated with like Birthright, right, and other things like that, so to speak. The Greyhawk campaign setting is going to be the primary focus.
All right, so I'm going to try to share the map. So from the press kit, I've got some images, or at least the image of. So for those that are familiar with Mike Chalet's artwork, his maps, which are absolutely brilliant. You can't see it; it's off camera. I've got a printout of Waterdeep, and it's a Mike Chalet map. I love Mike Chalet's art, so I'm going to try to share a screen. I don't know how this is going to work, everybody. So let's just try this. Yeah, I think this is going to work. All right. So there we go. So if you can see that is the map of the city of Greyhawk.
Yes.
That is going to be included as a map. I think it's going to be a pull-out map.
It's the flip side. It's the flip side of Greyhawk, which would be on the other side.
Yep. So just to give you a sense of what's going to be the caliber of the art and what's going to be included in the Dungeon Master's Guide.
And the primary thing that they said in regards to why did they choose Greyhawk, and this is their words, not ours, is that Greyhawk, of its own, is even in its old school status, is still relatively open for you to make your own. Is that kind of what you feel they said, Keith?
Yeah. It's a world setting, but I think it's still, so this is the first time they said in their history that
Right.
they're actually including a campaign world in their Dungeon Master's Guide.
Right. With 3 or 4 sample adventures too.
Yes. And
which was interesting.
in such a framework that it give for the Dungeon Master to give them an idea of what they can do with an adventure. They can obviously run the adventures, but what they can do with adventures, how to craft them, like what they should, ideas of the layout of what an adventure can be, not what they need to do or what, tick the boxes kind of thing, but what an adventure can look like.
Right.
A particular style of adventure. And there may be different styles.
Hold on. I'm going to. Hey, someone shoot the dog.
All right. Well, Scott's trying to shoot his dogs. Not really.
No,
I'll
we'll
keep talking.
No, but go on. But yeah, it was, of course, the Greyhawk setting, could be taken as we're going to throw, the old school gamers a bone. They've been wanting they've been wanting Greyhawk. They've been wanting other settings. Obviously, Dark Sun they feel is not something that they want to tackle for whatever reason. But Greyhawk is still semi-generic enough of a fantasy setting and not quite as fleshed out as Forgotten Realms has been.
Right.
That it's something that you can run a campaign in with enough foundation to still kind of make it your own. So
yeah, I got the sense that it was still wide open enough that you can still make it your Greyhawk, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. So the sample adventures, which is interesting. Obviously the 5th edition was like, here's a massive freaking book that's going to take you from level 1 to 20, and when you're done playing that, here's another massive book that's going to take you from level 1 to 20. The idea of at least having in the Dungeon Master's Guide these little adventures, sample adventures to get you up and running, and not have to go out and buy a starter set to do it, was interesting. So good on them for doing that. Hopefully, if they continue, that these smaller adventures might be something they'll carry on with. Who knows? They're also, the Dungeon Master's Guide has a lore glossary in it.
Yep. I'm gonna share another screen. It doesn't have to do with the lore glossary, but there's also a section in the DMG on creating adventures. So this is like a partner to the sample adventures. It's also the toolbox, right, for creating adventures. And this was something that like Mike Perkins and I forget the other guy that was up there. The bigwig. Christ, I don't know. I don't follow 5th edition shit, so.
The other smiley guy with the D&D.
The other schmarmy dude, yeah. He was high energy too.
We're prepared.
Yeah, we're
always.
Totally prepared. We're just authentic people.
D&D guy, what's his name?
The schmarmy guy.
Rob Schwab, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
but no, not Rob Schwab. I'm joking.
No.
Carry on.
But that was one of the things that they said. Okay, so we have a toolbox for creating adventures. Like here's a framework for creating adventures, specifically for the rule set. And then here are some sample adventures. And then it goes into like the lore glossary. But another thing that is not on these slides that applies across all 3 books, they've redone the actual layout of the books. And by that, I mean the way in which the information is presented. So the arrangement of the information.
Right. It's going to be a little bit more easily acceptable. The Dungeon Master's Guide legitimately sounds like, according to the presentation, that it is going to be way more beneficial for a experienced and likewise new Dungeon Master to get in and start running their games without having to hunt and peck and essentially read the book from cover to cover to try to find the information that they want. It's laid out more as an actual guide to walk you through these steps one by one to get you to run their game, which is nothing new, to role playing games. But it's good to note that that the way they're executing this is something that's going to be beneficial. Again, if this is a game you're looking forward to run when it comes out. If D&D 2024 is your game, know that it sounds like the Dungeon Master's Guide is going to be way more beneficial and provide
previous versions.
In previous versions, yeah.
One thing I will say on the arrangement of information for the player's handbook that is drastically different, and they really highlighted this, they foot stomped it. Every version of the player's handbook has always presented character creation first. It has always been the beginning. It starts with character creation and then goes into everything else, like then how to play the game. This version of the player's handbook does not do that. It starts with how to play the game. The basic game rules, mechanics are first. Then it goes into let's build a character. So that is an absolute change from every version that they've ever published in the past.
Welcome to what everyone else does, WOTC. Thank you.
So they are
caught up.
They've gotten with 2024. So what's in the monsters manual in summary?
Okay, so monster manual, they say there's going to be 500 plus monsters, more Apex monsters, more NPCs, expanded monster families, stat block improvements, monster treasure suggestions. So no surprises there. I mean,
it sounds like I took away spit and polish on kind of everything from the past.
Right, it's a bestiary. I mean, what can you do with a bestiary except we're going to add more shit and maybe make shit a bit more, polished. So,
well, I recall Chris Perkins mentioning like Apex monsters, right? So there were very few in the current version of the book. There's very few like Apex monsters for those characters that get to that point where, it's time to fight the Tarrasque or, something of that caliber. There's very few things at that level that challenge rating. So now there's more options available, and then there's scale. So they did mention that some things have scalable options, to kind of fill the void, like vampires. Like they specifically highlighted vampires. There's some scalability in some of these things. You can plus them up, plus them down, or bring them down a little bit to adjust them to work with parties of all sizes and challenge ratings. So
so one of the interesting things they highlight, and I don't know if you have an example of that in the press kit that
I know where you're going. I'll look.
How they're handling the art, which I'm still kind of 50-50 on it. I see why they're doing it. It's an interesting concept, but so how the art is going to work in the monster manual, as opposed to the old one where everyone has, your typical bestiary is page of information, stats and whatnot, and and then there's a singular image of the monster, right? Rinse and repeat through the whole book. What they're going for with this one is a bit interesting. Is not every monster will have a particular illustration, but it won't be individual to the monster themselves. What they're doing is they're providing, I don't know the exact term they use, but they're doing
scenes.
There's action-orientated scenes in regards to the artwork. So is the skeleton example the one that you have, Keith?
I don't have... They did not provide information on the monster manual, unfortunately. So, because I think some of that's still in development, because it's the last book that's going to be released.
So, do you want to talk about the scene that they were talking about?
Yeah, I can. So they're doing spreads, like one-page spreads to accompany, some stat block and monster information, and they were doing like action scenes, and the idea was to give game masters the impression or the idea of what the monsters, whatever they be, what they look like in an action scene to inspire them in terms of like descriptive, to give you an idea of what skeletons look like when they're in an action scene, in a battle, right? So the poses that they might take, or the way they might throw up a shield, whatever the monster might be. Just the skeletons was the one that came up.
Right.
So that was one thing they talked about in terms of art.
Right. So the skeletal scene, like on that particular page, had like generic skeletons, like a giant skeleton and like a skeletal horse. So in the scene was a bunch of regular skeletons, a giant skeleton, and a couple skeletal horses, all in various poses and scenes,
Yeah.
fighting, some examples of player characters. And so what they said was that's primarily going to be throughout the book. Now, some will have individual illustrations depending on them, but a majority of them we're going to have these action scenes, which again is interesting and it's helpful. It's a tool.
Right.
They're still. It seems like they're trying to lean towards the the helpful aspect of, hey, we're giving you these tools to run the game, and we're trying to make it as easy as possible for those who want to run this to provide an immersive situation.
Yeah, I got the sense that everything that they're doing is obviously calculated, right? There's decision. Everything has a business decision, right?
With them, yeah.
And the idea of making an action scene, right, for some of, not every monster, but some of the monsters is it throughout the book, is not only to inspire the game masters, as they said, but I also think it's to help them with descriptions, right?
Right.
Again, it's a tool to help game masters with descriptions, maybe inspire a game master to take something they see in an action scene and go, hey, let me create something around that myself, right?
Right.
Everything that they're doing seems to have multiple uses, which is good.
Right. You actually want to. They made it seem like, yes, you want to go out and get these 3 books, not because it's like, hey, we need these 3 books to run D&D, but in this particular version, it seems like they made an effort to make them interwoven
and
like
more useful.
More useful. They lean on each other. They're not just separate reference books for you to.
Now, I do want to point out, Pookie did say something in our YouTube chat. Right. One of the big changes, and this is a Chris Perkins thing, that they finally did give cats dark vision.
I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't know it was a thing either, but he did say that on stage that in the current version of the game, cat-like people, creatures do not have dark vision because in real life, one of his mother's or grandmother's cats didn't have dark vision. Like, it would trip going down the stairs at night in the dark and tumble all the way down the stairs. So he cats don't have dark vision. Not in my game. They don't. So they're not. Right. It's not in the book. He owned that one. So hey, whatever.
Right. And I just saw Dirk say hard to make your own tokens using screen grabs using the books and right in an action scene you're which I've done myself. Sometimes depending on the game.
Yeah.
It doesn't have individual things. You kind of just have to make do with what you got or zoom in on a particular thing to make a token. But the artwork is so similar, and you could easily grab 5th edition and
the older version is going to work just fine.
Yeah.
So let's switch gears for a moment.
Okay.
Let's talk about the digital thing. So we've heard a lot of rumors and a lot of shit talking from a lot of gas bags and ass bags that weren't at this event. And they have no idea what they're talking about because they just like to hear themselves talk.
Right.
And they weren't at this event. So.
Right. Yeah. So touching on VTT and also the idea of digital only content. So
yeah.
Which way do you want to lean first?
So here, I'll take point. So okay. Scott and I both heard the presenters talk about their virtual tabletop and all of that. They're leaning into the development of it. That's great. It's going to be a very useful tool for those that want to use it. Great. We're just going to move on from that. If it's your jam, it's your jam. It's going to be a proprietary tool. Fine. Okay.
But not necessary to run the game.
No.
It's just it's like any other VTT. The presentation was given is that the ability to run this coming version is not going to be locked behind the usage of a virtual tabletop.
Correct. Because they actually said they would D&D is meant to be played at the table with your friends. If you need to play virtually, there's an option for that. Great. You can play either way. It doesn't matter. Right. So moving on from that, they also said, and this is where a lot of the rumors are swirling around, that they are not getting rid of physical books.
Right. And they really hit hard on that. And it was odd. I mean, it was one of those odd things where they're aware of it. They're obviously aware of the swirling aspects of WOTC's going to put everything behind a paywall. It's going to be subscription only. And to be fair, I vested in that also because it really wasn't made clear. And I'll say this, it still isn't from a public point of view. This was something that was done in a Q&A session at the end of the press conference, but they really brought that to the forefront, right? Like they really made it, hey, we like physical books. Everyone likes physical books. People, still enjoy playing in like-minded company with each other. But what they didn't say was, but if you prefer, utilizing our digital content, that's not going to be monetized or charged or subscription.
They were foot stomping the idea of D&D Beyond. Don't get us wrong. Don't misconstrue anything we're saying. Right. They were foot stomping. They want people to use D&D Beyond. However, they want you to buy the damn physical book too, right? They want you to buy anything and everything. Now, however, they're not getting rid of. Yeah,
sorry.
No, it's all good. They're not getting rid of physical books. Now, I'm still going to stand by the prediction I made when they announced the open playtest for 1D&D and yada yada, whatever they were calling the code name for it. I still think personally that because they have sunk so much money into acquiring D&D Beyond, and from the licensee who had it and they acquired it,
right,
and they've spent millions of dollars to acquire it and to develop it, and they're sinking so much money into the development of their virtual tabletop. They're going to push. They're going to have a big push towards that. Those business models, right?
Right.
That's a business decision. They're stupid if they don't.
Right.
Because they have to get return on investment. I do think personally, and they didn't say anything to this, but I do think personally that they are going to, over time, reduce the volume of physical books that they print, depending on demand and their push and their campaigns for the digital platforms. In response to those types of things. That's my personal prediction. I still stand by it when I said it a year and a half or so ago, maybe 2 years ago now, I don't know.
Right.
I still stand by that prediction.
Right. And a classic example is, our wish for, it'd be nice if they just had smaller adventures, and things, not these giant campaigns throughout like 5th edition. More than likely, you might see that as an online only version, and you're going to need to subscribe to get these games. Now, we're not supporting that, to be clear. We're making predictions. We're essentially the messengers here.
Right.
But what we are saying is, currently speaking, and it would be almost ridiculous to think they spent 3.5 hours kind of nailing home the aspect of the physical aspects of this game, that it would have been a 3.5 hour smoke and mirrors for them tomorrow to turn on and say, nope, everything's subscription based. We fooled you. Ha ha.
No, and that's not how it's going to go. I assure you of that. I just think, as I said, personally, I think they're going to scale up the digital platform and scale back the physical assets proportionally in favor of the digital platform stuff, the digital books. I mean, so for those that are wondering, the player's handbook, I just looked at the back if you saw me looking at it, it's $49.99 for the book. The price has not changed.
Yeah.
People were like, oh, it's going to be $60 or $65. No, it's $49.99. The price has not changed.
It's going to be $30 on Amazon.
Right. The price has not changed. You still have to, there's no option as of right now, as we understand it, there's no caveat to get the digital version of it through D&D Beyond for free or at a discount. You have to buy that separately. It's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be $50. I still think it's going to be like $30 or whatever it is. So if you prefer digital, you're going to go buy digital because you like digital and it's going to be cheaper, and it links to your character sheet builder and all of that stuff, which then will link into, as they said, those that were the company that's doing their project, whatever, their virtual tabletop is directly linked into their D&D Beyond, is all linked. They're all interconnected. So
yeah, they're still going to do what most people are speculating. They are going to try to monetize as much as they can on this brand.
Of course.
All we're essentially saying is the idea of them completely doing away with the physical books at this point in time is just is not the case.
No,
they're
going to monetize both sides of this coin. Right. They'd be stupid if they didn't. Keith just thinks that they're going to ramp up the monetization on the digital side and scale back the monetization over time on the physical side in favor of exploiting the digital side. That's just my personal belief.
The success of the VTT is going to swing on that.
I think it's a pendulum, and I think it's going to swing that way, but never getting rid of the physical assets. I just don't think that's a thing right now.
That will be secondary. That will be a secondary concern depending on, how well the VTT does. And likewise the monetization of other things. We agree. They are going to do whatever they can to make a buck on certain things, and they will make things virtual only. And it will either cost you or it may be subscription based. But they are going to, for now, for the time being, it's still going to be both. I
don't foresee that changing in the near future. There could come a time that does change, and that's a business decision that they have to make.
Right.
And so be it. Again, it's not necessarily a game that I'm overly excited about. I mean, I like some of the changes that they're making with it.
Yeah, they're moving in the right direction for those who want to play the game, I think, in my opinion.
Agreed.
In certain areas. I think in the Dungeon Master side, some of the changes they made to the player's handbook regarding, the character classes, what they call species now, aspects of, of the game itself and how it's run. I'm still just on that. I could care less. I'll be playing other games, but but that's just me. If I would say this, if 5th edition is your jam, and you've been following along with it, and you're like, okay, well, these changes are okay, and I kind of like where they're going, I would say that the newer edition, you are going to get a good quality product that's going to allow you to run your current edition of Dungeons and Dragons very well, if not better, if you're okay with all the changes they made regarding the game itself.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move away from 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. I think we've beat that horse to a pulp.
Yeah.
So in the chat, I'm looking at the chat, yada, yada, yada. Blake has popped in from Blake's RPG Zone. And he says, so what is a game you are both excited about? So I will say, there's 2 that I came away from Gen Con with that I'm super excited about.
Yeah.
Personally, the first is Outgunned from Two Little Mice. So for those that are watching, I am holding up the book. Super interested in this. My friend Roz, for those of you that are listening that know Roz, she turned me onto this book or this game. So I am actively reading this. I got the PDF of it, started reading it, and I'm enamored with it. So I grabbed the physical book and I'm continuing to read it. So the idea of like action flick games, just the idea of it just really, really appeals to me. The other thing, I didn't play that at Gen Con, but I did pick that up at Gen Con. The other things that I did pick up at Gen Con and I played at Gen Con was the new X-Crawl Classics from Goodman Games.
Yeah.
That was good. The tournament was a little rough. Like I enjoyed some of the games we played, but just the format of the tournament was rough. It was just mentally tough.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
had a blast playing the tournament. Some of our judges were fantastic. Shout out to Joey Royale, brilliant.
Woo!
Woo! That was great. High speed, low drag, all energy. It was great.
As for me, if we're going with like what we either played or picked up at Gen Con, I picked up a copy of Household, which I'm looking forward to reading. Again, that's also from
Two Little Mice.
Two Little Mice.
Yep.
That is, for those who aren't aware, on the American side, think of the old cartoon that we grew up with called The Littles. On the British side, The Borrowers.
No, you play fairies in a big Victorian or Edwardian house.
You play diminutive people, but they're not all fairies. They're fayish, but they're not all flittering.
Okay. I stand corrected.
Yeah, you play little people in a giant house, and each one has a bunch of factions.
Is little people an appropriate term these days?
Not if they're from the Fey realm. No.
Okay.
Because they're little. They're like they're
okay.
They're,
I'm just
they're
making sure we're using the right vernacular here.
God,
Cat, come on.
And then I think the other one was, speaking of Joy Royale, his is going to be coming out soon. He's doing a Kickstarter for his Weird Heroes of Public Access, where he's bringing all of his zines together and also doing new content.
It's like the best of. He's going to cultivate. Didn't he say he's going to like kind of cultivate or curate? I should say the best of his content, and then add new stuff.
Right. Exactly. So, and if you haven't, check it out. I mean, the zines are like, hey, get downstairs. You don't belong up here.
I'm sorry. Go. I'll go downstairs. Go. Bye. I gotta go.
No, not you.
Oh, dog. Sorry. I can't get out of here.
And it's a fun, just kind of wacky, nonsensical horror type. You're running a part of a public access station, not the Jason Cordova one. This is a better one. So it's those are two that I'm excited to look. And also I'm excited to check out I think everyone grabbed a copy of just to see is the Arkham Horror role-playing game starter set that we picked
up. Let's talk about that for a minute, because I've started reading it.
Okay.
It's interesting. The game has no digital content to it. I looked at their website. Not that a game needs to have digital content, but I wanted to, because I was going to read it and I was going to run it for you guys. But because the game relies on playing face-to-face, the puzzles in the game are physical. Like you physically have to manipulate the puzzles.
Right.
And the character sheets, the character cards, you put physical dice on them, and then, oh, Scott, you need to do something, and I want to aid you. I give you a dice. I give you one of my die. And so it's open information, and even the Game Master characters, NPCs, are open information. So you know how many dice are on their character sheet. Right. So there are aspects, as I was messaging you guys the other day, that there's open information. As you guys start to read it, you'll realize that even it would have to be its own interface to play in a virtual environment.
Okay. You would have to do a lot of heavy lifting.
You would really have to do a lot of heavy lifting. You could do it like taking a game are you familiar with 10 Candles?
Yes.
So, I've done a virtual tabletop for 10 Candles in the past, and it's a lot of heavy lifting, making, a lot of JPEGs and stuff like that, and then hiding them as dice are removed or moved, and, yeah.
You can just hold 10 candles up to the camera and just blow them out.
You can go fuck off, too.
That's true immersion, as you finish your fourth beer and burn your house down, so.
Exactly. So it would be very, very tough to do it in a virtual environment, which I like the idea that it promotes people playing physically at a table together. But at the same time, I think in a
Hmm.
post-pandemic world where, we all got accustomed after 2 years of playing virtually together, right? The world got
It's
connected, you know?
yeah, it's odd that they don't have a digital version coming with it. Now
Right.
they might.
They
There might be
might.
something. It's the starter set, but it does seem odd in this day and age for something to be, and it's not like it can't be done.
Yeah.
Any new VTT you can provide that. It just requires you pay someone to do that for you and do a bit of work.
Or
So it's
do a little bit of JPEG finagling yourself to go,
if,
okay, here's your dice on the screen, yada, yada, yada kind of
yeah,
thing.
if you want to do it yourself.
Yeah.
But I mean, but it's just saying that coming soon to Foundry is this and this and this.
Right.
It,
Now,
it
this
can't.
is specific to the starter set, like the physical puzzles and
Right.
things like that. Now, the core book for it is going to be, what did they tell us, November?
Yeah.
And that's going to be 500 pages. And that's just the core book. So, or the all-inclusive core book.
Right.
That's not, there's no puzzles. That's just the game book to play. You create your own stuff from that point forward.
Yeah.
So what you create is what you create. So at that point, you could move forward to a virtual tabletop, but character sheets, character cards still have that kind of open information with dice being placed on them.
Hmm.
That doesn't go away.
Right.
So be interesting to see how it moves forward.
Yeah. Yeah. So whenever we get back together again, all of us in 5 years will play it. Um,
Yeah, we'll have to see.
so probably wrapping up soon here because I've got to go. Spend some time with make sure my daughter and her friends aren't burning the backyard down. But coming soon, what's one of the things that we pulled away from our visit is we do have a coming episode of Titterpigs that's going to involve Roz again.
Yes.
And what's that going to be?
So we're gonna have Roz on, and we're gonna do a couple of things with that, but we're gonna talk about solo gaming again, specifically a little more towards the board gaming side of things, because Roz is all things solo gaming. We're gonna talk about Agents of Mayhem, I think is the game, and she's gonna be kind of enlightening us on that specific game, and then the solo AI expansion for that game, her experience with it, maybe what else you can do with it, maybe outside of the board game. Does it have any role-playing game opportunities to it, if possible? So we'll see where that goes. What else we got coming up? I believe we wanted to. We're gonna try. I'm gonna reach out and fingers crossed, no promises. But we've got some folks we want to get on the show. I think we want to have Scott Woodard back on. So Scott, if you're still in the chat listening, we still want to have you back on the show. So
And if you can't make it, your wife can come on. So
she's cool too.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah.
I'm gonna reach out to Brennan LaSalle, see if we can get him on the show.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah,
we should go for the whole shebang. Then we should get Harley Stroh.
Hey, who knows? I mean, we're gonna see if we can branch out a little bit here.
We should do a DCC month where we'll get as many DCC people on as we can.
I like that idea.
So
get Ludo's dog. He's amazing. Okay. So Scott Woodard says you can count on me at some point. Well, there you go, Scott.
Excellent.
We got Scott at some point.
Excellent. Ludo's dog. We won't have Ludo on. That's ridiculous.
No, Ludo's dog's like way better on.
His dog is welcome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just it's just I personally may what we should do is in regards my travels through PBTA to try to
I want to explore this more. I want to explore your adventures in PBTA.
Maybe have someone on to talk about it who knows more. Maybe have Blake on. Maybe have I believe Tim Jensen.
Blake, you in? I know Blake's still in the chat. Blake, you in? Have you on the show? Talk PBTA?
Is your dog available, Blake? If you're not, or your drop bear, or your magpies,
or any of your leaf cutters, what?
Yeah, any one of the Australian bestiaries that would be willing to come on, we would definitely have them on also. But no, just to kind of have them talk about it, maybe work through some of the things that I have that they may have. Some answers to talk about, or maybe just have Blake do an actual play, have Blake run a game for us or something like that. So, but yeah, and just other topics that may come up as we go along. So, who knows?
Blake said he's in and he can bring his corgi. So there we go. The corgi's going to run the game. Blake's going to just sit back and be the corgi's little bitch.
Corgis guarantee at least 25 to 40 additional views. So,
we're in.
Don't know how well we'll do podcast wise, but we'll see how that goes.
Corgi for the win. So
anything else you want to touch upon before we run off sunset?
Like and subscribe, smash the button, do all the things, tell your friends, tell your friend's dog, like us.
Yeah, this will be dropping soon in audio version.
Yeah,
and likewise, it's already on will already be on the YouTube. So we'll be dropping that down. And
don't forget to check out Scott's YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out Rolling Boxcars blog. I got a new project I'm working on through Rolling Boxcars, so more information to follow soon.
Yeah, and also Keith is working on a bunch of stuff. I don't know if you can reveal any of it, but Keith is going to be a busy editor, busy little editor the next few days. Or
I got non-disclosures. I can't talk.
That's fine.
Sort of.
You can guess what it is. So I mean, but
yeah, I got some projects in the works. Some I've turned in. Some I've got coming to me in the next week or so. Yeah. I got handed a stack of stuff or commitments right as I was walking out the door for Gen Con. Some I've already done and turned back in. Some I'm still waiting on to get. So,
and as for me, I still have a real review I'm going to be doing here in the next week or so. I'll be doing an actual review of a game, not an unboxing, not a first impression.
Oh, really?
I'll be doing a review of the OSR game that I ran, Ragged Hollow, Nightmare Over Ragged Hollow. There we go. I'll be doing a real review of that. Hopefully that will be out in the next week or so.
I look forward to hearing that.
Yeah. Seeing it. It'll be a video. You watch my channel all the time, don't you?
I do.
Liar.
I know. I listen to it. I don't watch it. I listen to it.
What was the last video I did?
I don't know. Whatever you popped on the Facebook. I just click it and listen, and I just walk away.
Hey, that works. Hey, anyone who goes to my channel, clicking it and walking away is perfectly acceptable.
I listen to shit. I don't watch video. I listen or I hang out in live streams. But
yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone who popped in. This, for those who missed it, this will drop as an actual video here once we stop recording. So look forward to coming stuff from Titterpigs in a few weeks. And thank you everyone who chimed in the chat and sat around with us and listened to our bullshit for
Blake, Gen Con part 3200.
For an hour and a half. And when we look forward to all the people calling us fucking WOTC shills.
We are not WOTC shills. Thank you very much. So, but hold on. Before we sign off, I do want to give a shout out to White Hair Games. Yep. Biffer the youngest. He hangs out on our Discord. So we need to have him on the podcast soon too.
Sure.
He does he does some awesome stuff for his favorite game. So he's big into fighting fantasy stuff. So he's got his own fanzine that he publishes in association with I believe it's Arian Games. So Sam, reach out to me. We'll see if we can get you on the show, bro.
Love me some fighting fantasy. All right, everyone. We will catch you later.
All right. Cheers, everybody.
Bye-bye.